On me recently that if happiness could be found, and lots of people are in the pursuit of happiness. In fact, it's in our Constitution, right? As Americans, we think the pursuit of happiness might be an inalienable right. And that's probably true. But if happiness could be found, don't you think we would have found it by now? Happiness is one of those ideas that people are in a constant pursuit of it. They are looking for it. They want to be happy. They are looking for ways to become happy. And yet, even when they find it, it seems temporary. Something comes along and disturbs it and disrupts it, and that seems consistent. We don't seem to find a happiness that sustains us. And yet, countless people I talk to are trying to find it. Now, we call it being satisfied. We call it being wholeness, or finding wholeness, or contentment, or settledness. And we have all these words for it, but we're all looking for happiness. Most of what we call happiness isn't actually it. It's the reduction of misery. And reducing misery is great, but is that really happiness? I mean, it's better, so maybe. Another thought on this is they say money, there's a wisdom statement that says money can't buy happiness, but we actually know that's not true. Every dollar added from zero up to some point increases happiness in our lives. It makes things better up to some point. And in every different economy, that point is different. And again, though, I think that's buying the reduction of misery. You see, we treat happiness, or this thing, this idea of contentment or settledness or something like that, as a thing in itself that can be found outside of us. We pursue it. But if happiness could be found, don't you think we would have found it by now? I don't think that's the right way to look at this question. I'm not even sure happiness is the point. Happiness does not produce meaning and purpose in life. Happiness is an experience we have when, well, one author says, happiness is when reality matches expectations. Think about that. We are happy when reality, the lived experience, matches our expectations. The problem is, as soon as our expectations get met, we seem to move to a new expectation. We want something else. We go after the more. We strive for something. And so there's a way in which the moments of happiness that we do experience when reality matches expectations fade almost immediately. I don't think happiness is the point. I think it's something that comes, and it's great when it does. But there's something more interesting in life that we should be pursuing. There is something beyond an external thing that we can go find. Dan Gilbert in a TED talks about the human capacity to synthesize happiness, that we actually create it internally, that it's something that we do in relationship to reality, that we make our own happiness. And I think that's an interesting idea. He's got lots of evidence to show that that's how the human works. If you're looking for happiness, what you're doing is saying, I'll be happy if, or I'll be happy when. I'll be happy if I accomplish this, get this, arrive, or I'll be happy when this thing occurs. The problem is, you might be happy for a moment when you get that, or accomplish that, or arrive there, but it will fade quicker than you think. One wise person said, or it's been said by wise people, I don't know which, because I don't know the source of this quote, that the only thing worse in life than not getting what you want is getting it. Because then you have to figure out what you want again and go on the struggle again. The most profound place I have learned this is in my journey as a fisherman. I like to fish. I was raised fishing. My dad loves to fish. And I do too. It's a great activity for me. It's one of the only places in my life where I go out into the wilderness and I lose track of time. And that experience is worth it in and of itself. But whenever I go fishing, I am looking for fish. I want to catch fish. And lots of people think that fishing is about catching, but it's not. Fishing is about casting. It's about the pursuit, the hunt. And every time I learn a technique or learn a spot where I know I will go catch fish, I abandon it. I move on. I increase the challenge. I go to a new river to learn that river. I go to a new region to learn that region. Fishing is not about catching. It's about casting. In the same way that life is not about happiness. And the moments when we get the fish on the line and we accomplish what it is we set out to accomplish, they're great. They're fun. But I was up on a river one time with my dad. We're fishing for salmon up in Canada. And there was a day where the salmon were thick and we were catching almost every cast. And after about an hour of that, I found myself going to cast again. And I thought, if I cast, I'm just going to catch a salmon and I'm going to have to fight it and reel it in. And that's gotten boring. And so I went and sat down and I quit fishing because all I was doing was catching. Happiness is great, but we were not made to be satisfied. We were made for the pursuit. And when we find satisfaction in that, when we start to understand that contentment is both the ability to be happy in the moment and not be happy yet, that contentment is about knowing that I'm good enough now and not good enough yet, that being whole and complete and fulfilled is to understand that there is a twist in reality that causes a tension that I must live with constantly. There is no perfect homeostasis point at which all things will be one and I will be fully at rest and at peace. Those moments come, but they fade. If happiness could be found, I really do think we would have found it by now. Maybe there's something else going on.